Well, good morning and welcome to the Mayor's Weekly. Something that I shared with you probably 6 months ago when we started talking about the 4-point plan, that we would give you periodic updates on how we're progressing with those projects. And that's what we're going to spend this morning talking about. Kathy Shamlis is joining me, and Kathy has been deeply involved in looking at these projects and how we get them moving. I think I can't imagine a person not having some familiarity of what's been going on in our country, and probably for the last 6 or 7 months, runaway inflation, supply chain issues, and all of those things are making it almost impossible to get commercial projects moving. And if you're successful in getting a commercial project moving, then what people are finding and what we're finding here at the city, the cost is significantly higher than what you'd been planned for during normal times. And the way we've been impacted, we'll talk about on these projects. The impact is not something that the mayor, the chief financial officer, the council had anything to do with. It's just the times. It's unfortunate. It's challenging. Something I've said numerous times over the last few weeks. I believe we're in times where you could really make some bad financial decisions. What are we charged with as leaders of this city? One of them that I have a deep sense of responsibility, and that is to be a good steward of the taxpayers' money and make sure that we get as much mileage for the money as we can. These projects that we've talked about, planned to do, will be funded by monies that were raised through a $25 million bond issue. What I want to tell you up front, those monies are resting in the bank, safe. We're paying interest on the bond issue, but I'm pleased to tell you the investments that have been made with this money are qualified investments, qualified as municipal investments, and what we're earning on those funds is just within a shade of what we're paying. So we're really, the taxpayer of the city is not losing much ground in that regard, in that we are able to earn a rate that pretty much offsets what we're paying. What is really impacting us is what inflation has done to prices, and there have been some real revelations, hadn't they, Kathy, in the first few weeks. And so let's start with the paving project first. We, in the 4-point plan, we said that we'd set aside $5 million, earmark $5 million. I said, as you can confirm, that money is in the bank to wrap up paving, a continuation of what we did a couple of years ago, relying on engineering firms, and we were coming up with this number that looked like that was more than an adequate sum. It probably would have been some surplus in that $5 million, even after we had completed all the work that needed to be done. We opened bids here 2 weeks ago, didn't we, Kathy?
Yes.
And it was a recommendation of the engineering firm that we do our paving project in 2 phases, and that made sense, made it more manageable, and from a dollar perspective, they were probably equal in size. The engineering firm told us that we probably could expect a bid of $2.5 million to $2.6 million, which was higher than we like, because you could see that if half the project cost you $2.5 or $2.6 million, it's going to use up all the money, and we'd hope to have a little surplus from that. Well, we had 2 bids. Major paving companies bid on the project. The low bid came in at $3.2 million. Now, the engineering firm said they thought it'd be $2.5 or $2.6 million. Well, you can see at $3.2 million, and if phase two, from a dollar perspective, is equal to phase one, then there's not enough money to do all the work that we had planned to do. Kathy, is that, have I laid that out correctly?
That's exactly, what we saw 2 weeks ago when we opened those bids, so exactly.
What we know is that petroleum prices impact the price of asphalt. If you own an automobile, you know something about petroleum prices. We know that the scarcity of labor has driven up labor costs. Talking with a gentleman that's a general contractor, not in the paving business, after we opened these bids, and what he shared with me is, he said general contractors that are called on to give fixed prices for a project are building in significant risk premium, maybe as much as 30%, to cover the unexpected. This is not just impacting Jasper. Last week, talking with a credible source about a project in Huntsville. Hopefully you've read the news. It's been talked about now for over a year that the FBI is moving a significant part of its operations to Redstone Arsenal. You think about all of the resources that that the federal government has, bright minds looking down the road, pretty much anything they need. Their projected cost for the FBI facility at Redstone Arsenal was projected at $20 million. They have just bid that project, and it came in at over $40 million, twice what they had projected. So what's going to happen here? We have a work session coming up in a few days. We have talked to the council, not as a group, individually, which violates nothing, to let them know the information we have. What will happen at that council meeting, here's my prediction, and I can't speak for the council, that the council is probably going to recommend that we take a pause on this project. Let's see what happens. I'm going to take some risk here. It's my belief that that's the thing to do. I can't see that we lose any ground by taking a pause. We may not gain anything, but I think we may very well gain in the form of a price reduction, and hopefully be in a position to work through our paving project, and the $5 million that we set aside be enough money to take care of those projects. I think that's what the council will do, and I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see a second into the future, but I know the inflation reports that came out yesterday were very, very disappointing. I think we're going to see interest rates ratcheted up even more to cool this economy. So I really think that that the council will make the decision to take a pause, see if things do not improve. What we know, Kathy made a very valid point. Our streets are not falling apart, so it's not like that we're in a situation where we have to do something right now. So that's what I think will happen with our paving project. Now, Kathy, kind of an overview of our new city hall, where the things that impacting the paving project or impacting that project, and I know you've worked extensively with the architect, and have an overview of where that's at.
Well, sure. We expected the Share Auditorium project to be about a $3.6 million construction cost. The total project's estimated at $5 million, but 3.6 of that was just in renovation and construction to improve the building itself. And as we getting ready, really, the architect is to send out bids for the project, but we sort of paused because of her concern that the 3.6 million, due to everything that we're seeing and she's seeing with price increases, that we could potentially see that 3.6 be 6 million. And obviously, and that's just construction cost, and then we would also have the other cost of what it takes to complete that project. So we could be, another project that's going to be well over what our budget is for the project. So we're just, what we're doing now is trying to see if we can get some pre-bid cost to get that cost where she's comfortable with the actual preparation of the bids. And this may be another project that we'll have to push the pause button on. We're just trying to continue to gather information to know what is the best direction to take. And right now we're in the process of trying to make that decision, and we'll get the committee, once we get all the information we can, then we'll come back together and make that recommendation as well to the Jasper City Council and yourself.
Jackie, if you don't mind, talk just a little bit about how we started out believing that the construction cost was going to be $3.6 million. You didn't shoot from the hip. The council didn't shoot from the hip. We made those plans based on professional guidance. Is that correct?
Absolutely, because the 3.6 million was given to us by the architect back probably less than, I think it was in the fall of 2021.
Right.
So not that far, and she updated, information based on, she was continuously updating the cost information as she went, but we're just 6, 7, 8 months down the road, and now we're all just in a different environment.
Yeah. The next project is the sports facility. Just this week, we entered into an agreement with an architectural firm to begin work on the master plan, and I underscore this, for phase 1. That's what we're looking at. We really don't know what this could end up looking like. The sportsplex, there's not a great deal of what I call vertical construction. There's earth moving and buying artificial turf and that sort of thing. So we're not far enough along to make a call on that project. We know how much money we have to spend. We're going to spend probably $12 million. In that project, what you could do, and it may not make sense, is if costs have really ratcheted up, you could shrink the size of the project to fit $12 million. We might say, ooh, that just makes the project way smaller than what we want it to be. And there may have to be a pause there to see what happens. But I think we'll, with the architectural firm getting their work underway, and we've told them to give us some scenarios, and I read the newspaper article on an electronic copy this morning, and it talked about a lot of different types of fields at this complex. I don't think that you'll see all of those types of fields represented in phase 1. We have to see. And but we're just not far enough along in that project to say if we need to take a pause and see if prices might improve. But knowing that we don't have a lot of vertical construction there, knowing that we can adjust the size of the project to fit the money, it could be beneficial to us. You go back to the City Hall, we can't adjust the size of that project down to fit the money. It would be an unwise move on the part of the city, because you would build a facility that's not adequate for the operation of the city. We look at City Hall, we're looking at coming up building, rehabbing, whatever you want to call it, a facility that will serve this city far into the future. And to shrink the size of it would be an injustice to the taxpayers of this city. You agree, Kathy?
I do. You know, we're going to get there with the City Hall project. It will happen. It's just trying to do it the wisest, use the money the best that we can. And
Well, we're not going to be irresponsible with the taxpayers' money. You can be assured of that. If you have any reservations about the money, we can show you the deposits of that money. Like I said, it's resting safely and invested at a rate that pretty much covers what we're paying on the bonds that we issued. So we're not losing any ground there. The culprit has been inflation and labor availability, and both of those things fall outside our control.
sure does.
That's right. So that's a summary of where we're at. We welcome your questions, and we'll be quick to answer. It's something that we had really hoped to have everything rolling by this time. Those projects, City Hall is probably an 18-month project. Paving is probably, both phases takes place within a year. The Sportsplex, it's just, like I said, we're not far enough along to know the time allotment for that. But and as soon as that information is available, we'll address that in our work session, and we'll address that here on the Mayor's Weekly. So we're pleased to have you with us. Share that update with you, and as we know more and our plans on these projects, we'll be right here at this table sharing with you our plans and how we will proceed with these projects. But again, I summarize by saying the money for these projects has not been spent. We'll take a pause if that's what the council decides to do, to make sure that we make the best decision that can be made in how we spend taxpayers' money. You agree with that, Kathy? Good. So again, pleased to have you with us, and have questions, please send them our way.